So welcome everybody. This is the official launch of Wisdom's Chats in the UK. As I was mentioning, Edward has been joining us from the UK in the South African Wisdom's Chats for months now. And but maybe just to give you a little bit of history so you know where we've come from and what we're about. So in South Africa, lockdown was announced. We basically had 4 days in the last week of March to buy our toilet paper, store up for the apocalypse, and then lockdown started on the 27th of March. And so on the 26th of March, myself, Ivan Anderson, that you see here, and our other business partner, Trevor Nell, we decided we would start what we called Wisdom's Chats. And it was just, the idea of it was just to start having conversations to keep people's minds active and positive through tough times. And so it was to stimulate thinking, to share stories, to bring ideas, to just keep the juices flowing instead of us being locked down in our minds as much as we were physically and in our homes. And so for 5 weeks, we ran Wisdom's Chats every day, Monday to Monday, public holidays, and we kept at it, and it was just a wonderful way of drawing an incredibly eclectic group of people together, sharing diverse thinking. Eventually, Ivan and I, Trevor's always the one that wants to keep going, but Ivan and I eventually said, we need a weekend. So we settled for Monday to Fridays. And then, so we've been continuing, and Edward celebrated with us on Friday, our 200th Wisdom's Chat. And it's been a great adventure of just one topic, one subject, one idea kind of flowing to the next. Herman, who is also joining us from South Africa, has also been there pretty much from the beginning, popping in and out. But I think within the first 5 or 6 days or so, he was already sharing his thoughts and ideas and stories with us. So it's great to have him on board today. So I'm going to launch in. I just wanted to give you that little bit of history, just so you have some context. And then the idea is with the UK Wisdom's Chats is that we run it on a weekly basis, and we'll run it every Tuesday. Doesn't matter, who's there, whether it's a holiday or not. If it's Tuesday at 8 o'clock in the UK, Wisdom's Chats will be happening. And and we're going to do a little bit of a more structured approach. The Wisdom's program, we've got a life and business skills program that runs from the difference maker to attitude, initiative, inspiration, leadership, entrepreneurship, and business mastery. And so we're going to follow topics that follow more or less those, not more or less, actually those themes for over the next foreseeable future. And so the first topic that sort of begins who we are as Wisdoms, and the very first entry program, foundational program that we have at Wisdoms, called the Difference Maker, starts with this question. So what does it mean for you to make a difference? And so we're not going to do formal introductions. This isn't a networking as such, but we do we build good relationships. But it really is about sharing ideas, sharing your thoughts, just so contributing to a collective wisdom. So that's really what we're about. So when we think about what does it mean to make a difference, if I launch in from my own perspective, and then I'm just going to pick on somebody, and then you can share your ideas. And so making a difference for me, I'm in adult education. So I've been running training programs in soft skills like emotional intelligence and various other programs, often in the corporate space, but also different other environments for nearly 30 years. So, I mean, that seems like a long time. I always I give myself a bit of a fright when I say 30 years. But I often have thought, what difference am I making? I do kind of give myself a little bit of a, you know, the people that come on the programs, the initial, and they're sort of 2-3 days, sometimes they're extended over a slightly longer period of time, and they enjoy them, and I get positive feedback after the course. And then I think, has it really impacted their lives in any way? Am I just spinning my wheels? Or am I really doing something that is achieving the purpose that I wanted to achieve? And I've realized over the years that maybe what I'm doing is planting seeds. I'm putting the seeds in the ground. I'm scattering the seeds. And I don't know what soil it's going to land in. I don't know what the take up of that seed is going to be. And in actual fact, I'm not in charge of the weather. I'm not in control of the other person. So I don't know what difference I'm making, but that's not my job. My job is to scatter the seeds. And if I'm doing that and I'm consistent in that, and I'm have a meaning and purpose behind what I'm doing, I'm trusting that somewhere along the line, somebody's going to treasure that seed and nurture it, and something positive will grow. And whether it's small or big, that's relative to who they are and their lives. So that's my one thought about making a difference for myself. The last thing I want to say, in fact, I'm going to leave it there because I can warble on, and I don't want to take up all the space. So Edward, I'd love to go to you because you are our great and wonderful guest, you're a part of the family. So won't you share your ideas now?
Yeah, this is a bit difficult actually, because we've discussed this before, and I kind of thought, should I talk about what I talked about before, or should I do something new? So it gave me a bit of a dilemma. And then I thought I'd mix it up a bit. And a bit like you, I plant seeds, and I'm quite happy just to plant those seeds and not know what's happened to them. But I also, if there's something I really, really feel strongly about, I like to take action, and I like to know it's made a difference. And I'll stand up and be counted. And I told you last about a radio advertisement the government were doing around Brexit, which I felt used inappropriate language, gender language, and how one really well-crafted email got that advert taken off the air. And that reminded me that I used to be an angry young man, and I used to rage about a lot of stuff. And I got nowhere. And then I decided to become part of the system and work from within the system, get an air of respectability, get some knowledge, get some skills. And that email was those skills in practice. But to the seed planting, sometimes I'm very lucky in that I discover something's growing that's wonderful. And I'll give you an example. Some of you know that I'm vegan, and hopefully I'm not too preachy about it. I know I had a go at you, Lee, when you said we were going to have a meaty discussion. But you know, I like to do it in jest. I like to do it gently. And a few years ago, I was at a race, And this, and if people ask me questions, I'll talk about it, but generally I don't. And this guy was very interested in my veganism, and he asked a lot of questions. And then we didn't meet again. But about a year later, someone sent me a copy of an article about this guy, and it was an interview with him. And it's called Andrew Hedgeman. And the interview said, Andrew, you're a vegan ultra runner. How do you get enough energy to sustain you through your races? And he said, well, in 2012, I made the transition to vegetarianism. I trained for months and completed my big run on my 25th birthday at the Sydney Opera House after 15 days of running, averaging 70K a day. He'd run from Brisbane to Sydney, which is 1,000 kilometers. So then in 2016, when I ran the Kalahari Akrabi's Extreme Marathon in South Africa, a week-long self-sufficiency race across the Kalahari Desert, I met a vegan runner, Edward Chapman, who had completed the race 10 times. He showed me that you can easily be vegan and complete these massive endurance feats. So after arriving back in Australia, I ditched all animal products completely. I will continue being a vegan for the rest of my life. So I got the feedback that planting those seeds sometimes works. And I think it's also about, to make a difference, you have to live your values and use those as examples. So yeah, those are my thoughts. And yeah, so it was really nice that someone sent me that article with my name in it, and that conversation had led to someone making a life-changing decision.
So stunning. What an amazing, I mean, just to have that as such a great example. Thanks, Edward. What a great story. Tim, you sort of been thinking, and hopefully would love to hear, what does making a difference mean to you?
Thank you, Lee. Good morning, everyone. I'm coming to you from Belfast, so just a bit further away from South Africa than what Edward and possibly the rest of you are. But I suppose your question is sort of quite timely, because COVID for me, sort of sent me in a completely different direction. It's a direction that I've wanted to go for quite a while. So, I now find myself working one-on-one with business owners and helping them to get their right direction. And that's, to me, that you talked about planting the seeds. I am blessed to be able to work directly with them and not only plant the seed, but help them water it, see it grow, and help them direct on that journey to get them to where they want to be. And what I was saying just clicked with me, because I had a client that sent me a bit of an outline for a script for a video, and I said, that's not really quite right, but time was an issue, so he didn't have time to redo it. So I gave him the bare bones of it, and he sent it to me, and he essentially just read what I'd written. And I took that very humbly, that he actually had not just taken it as guidance, but almost took it word for word. And that meant a lot to me, because certainly in the previous business that I was in up until COVID, I definitely did not feel valued. So the fact that someone is actually seeing that value in me does mean a significant amount. But yes, I do get a lot, and I am very fortunate to be able to see those trees and the roots grow to, I suppose, give people a more steadfast and sure foundation.
Thanks, Tim. I really struck by this, the feeling of being valued when you are making a difference. It definitely has a sort of loop back to us, where we're giving and yet it comes back to us in some return, which I think is really powerful.
It definitely is. And I'm reading a book at the minute called Mindset, and it's wrote by Dr. Carol Dweck. And it talks about the fixed mindset and the growth mindset. And it is very, very interesting about how, as a young child, almost we can be programmed to have that fixed mindset. And, you know, sort of, it sort of talks about that sort of being valued part, because, you know, if you're if you're told that, you know, sort of you're no good at, then you sort of always feel like that. So I'm really only getting into it, but it is very, very interesting. I would highly recommend it.
Thanks, Tim. It actually is one of the foundational principles of wisdoms, is lifelong learning and this idea of perpetuating a growth mindset. So that was definitely the right word at the right time. I want to move across. Calvin, are you available to say anything, or are you just only able to listen in?
Yeah, I can talk. Can you hear me okay?
Yes, we can hear you. So we'd love to hear what your thoughts are.
Okay. Firstly, thank you, Jean. Thank you, Edward. I think I love you, and Lee. Your concept about making a difference, I think it's powerful. I think what I'm just going to say is pretty much in line with what you're saying. For me, when I used to work in the bank, the slogan of the bank was making a difference together. And for me, it's about the service that we give. You know, as a bank consultant or customer advisor, if I were to help a customer who's having a difficult time with their money, put them in the right place, or help a car that's been blocked to be unblocked, just making that little bit of difference, that could go a long way in making a difference in the life of that particular customer, my job was done. So now in business, now as I operate as a coach, as I do leadership training, as I go out and interact with people, for me, making that difference is just giving them service, being present right there for every, you know, for the moment that I am in, you know, showing up 100%, showing up to what I could do, deliver based on my capacity. Every time I step into that place, that notion of making a difference, it just keeps coming back again and again and again. And like Edward said, sometimes you sow the seed, and sometimes you can't see the end result because you're not there with a customer, you're not there with the people that you've given out of yourself. But just knowing that you are doing it will make a lot of difference to how you feel about yourself. Now, John Maxwell says you add value to people, add value to someone's life, you feel good about yourself. And so that's what I think about making a difference. Thank you.
Thanks, Calvin. It's so good to have that added perspective that making a difference is about the quality of who I am when I show up, and being present. And so it applies not only in your work situation, but in family and in our whole lives. So it definitely is about, yes, and it's a word for me because I definitely feel like I've been absent just because of lots of things going on. And so I just find sometimes in family gatherings, I'm sort of just a bit dull. And so I'm glad to have that reminder. Thanks, Calvin. And Herman, tell us where are you and what are your thoughts?
Morning, everyone. You know, for me, making a difference is actually driven by the question why. As an adolescent, I read a little booklet which was in German, which was called Großmutti Warum, which stands for Granny Why. And Granny was always being pasted by her grandchildren with the question why. Why is the sun shining? Why is it raining? Why do some apples are green and others are, etc., etc. And I only realized not too long ago that question why was actually a very strong driver in my life. I've often questioned things, particularly in working in big corporate. And it was, my why was always, why do we do it that way? Is there not a better way? Could there not be different? Why do people, particularly in big corporations, not engage? They often complain and say, you know, our company could be a lot more progressive, blah, 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 and all these kind of ideas. But if you ask them, but why don't you do anything? Oh, well, it's actually quite comfortable. We get well paid, etc., and all that kind of crap. And which eventually led me leaving the corporate environment as very simple, because I raised the questions of why, and I thought I'm not making a difference because people are so set in their way and their thinking. But that didn't mean that I gave up the question why and trying to make a difference. And I think today in the kind of work I do, I definitely am able to impact on things. On Monday evening, we had a meeting with people from Nigeria, Zimbabwe, Kenya, South Africa, on agricultural projects we try to get off the ground across the African continent. And we have, through the help from Germany, got 5 business master students assisting us in developing concepts, asking the right questions. And believe you me, the why is really the ground for find difference, even within the conversations. And so being or wanting to be a difference maker is number one, the question why. Number two, if I want to change a system, the first change that has to take place is the change within me. I cannot change a system. Being part of a system, I can't change it if I'm starting looking at myself, what can I do differently? And again, the question why comes in. Thanks.
Always love your wisdom, Herman. Just get to the nuggets of what it is about. So that question why, and also just acknowledging that making a difference is about creating change. And even if that change is in ourselves, which goes back to what Tim was saying about growth mindset and where does it start? Mark, what are your thoughts about making a difference?
Yeah, thank you for I've taken a lot of stuff that's been said really resonates with me, and I think that when it comes to making a difference, it does really come from you being the best version of yourself that you can be, and that comes from being learning based. So you want to be constantly looking to grow yourself, whether it be physically, emotionally, spiritually, and then once you've when you're going through that process, then you can start to see the impact that it has not only on yourself, but the other people that you're surrounding yourself with. And I think obviously from what I do with helping people through the process of moving home, that could be quite one of the most stressful parts of their lives. And I think what I get from being the best version of myself I can be is being the best I suppose ambassador to really look after my clients and really look to be like I say, the best version of myself, really. So yeah, no, lots of what you've said has really resonated today, so it's been good. But I do have to jump off, unfortunately, in a minute. So but yeah,
well,
thank you.
I'm glad we were able to hear what you were saying before you head off. The Wisdom's Chat is always about half an hour, so Edward, please go ahead.
Before Mark disappears, is it okay if I take a screenshot so I can do some posting, or do people not want the names put out there? You happy with that?
Happy for that, yeah.
Good.
Thanks, Edward. So we'll all smile, our best Christmas smile. Well, it's lovely to have you join us, Mark. I hope you'll be with us next week. And this idea of our best version of ourselves, it does just make me sort of, if I play, just question, people can make a difference without making a positive difference. And here we are, you know, a like-minded group of people wanting to impact people's lives for the better. So we want to be our best version of ourselves. But there are people who want to make a difference that only benefits themselves, for one, or that makes a difference only for their group, to the exclusion of other people, or for the worse, because they want chaos and mayhem. And so that's just another thought that just triggered in my mind. And having said that, I'm now throwing the ball into your court, Ivan. So what is it that you want to say about making a difference?
Yeah, thanks, Lee. That was a great lead, and I was wondering what you were setting me up for. So, sort of, yeah, let's hand over to Ivan, the guy who creates chaos and mayhem in people's lives. Yeah, no, not really. Yeah, I think as Mark said, you know, quite a bit of it has been said, and I think some key elements have been addressed. But for me, it is to actually realize the fact that regardless of whether you think you are or not, you are a role model to somebody. And if you realize that you're a role model, what are you actually doing in that regard? So, and I know Mark and I had a chat yesterday, and you know, he deals with some fairly high-profile people, and those people are held up as role models, whether they like it or not, you know, around the world. You know, top sporting people, top business people, they're seen as role models. So are they actually being their best selves and presenting themselves in a way that makes a positive impact, or are they actually you know, providing that negative element that Lee was referring to now, in terms of the persona and the presence that they're putting out there into the public space? And I think that's a big challenge in today's world with our pervasive social media and the like. Is there a lot of these role models there who unfortunately are not the kind of role models that perhaps we would like to be ourselves? You know, we want to actually see positive change, see positive growth, see that mindset, you know, that Tim referred to, you know, the values that Ed referred to. I think these are absolutely, you know, key elements to start to understand and internalize that if I really know what my values are, and I have an open mindset, and I'm prepared to learn and grow and develop, then I'm going to be making a difference, just with the people that I come in contact with, because that's, you know, it becomes one hesitates to use the word in the current times, infectious, but I think it becomes an infectious process, but a positively infectious process, where people say, but hold on, you know, I can actually think differently. I should think differently, and let me engage, you know, with this kind of environment to find out, you know, how to do it. And for me, you know, it's become curious, you know, get interested, to start to read, start to learn, and develop, and it becomes a self-perpetuating cycle of ongoing lifelong learning, as Lee said in her initial introduction. And I think that's key. And whether you're 20 or 80, sorry, Herman, 84, is it? I'm sure Herman's
82.
82. Okay, I gave you an extra 2 years. So whether you're 20 like Lee or 82 like Herman, you know, you can carry on. You can carry on learning and be curious and stay engaged. And I think that's you know, that's what keeps us alive. That's what keeps the mind alive, and allows us to make those positive contributions. So yeah, I think just in wrap up, those are my thoughts, Lee. I think we're sort of more or less at the bottom of the hour, so I think we've done well.
Yeah, so I just also, that was the last thing that I wanted to say, and you've picked up on it, Ivan, is this making a difference is also about thinking differently and doing things differently, differently from the way, and Herman picked it up when you talked about change, doing things differently from the way we've always done it. But again, it was sort of a challenge for me is, you know, am I doing things differently in order to be creative, to be innovative, to think? And in actual fact, in preparation for this Wisdom's Chats, I was looking for photographs on Unsplash so that I could do some social media posting. And I found a picture of a what was it, a typical cappuccino topping, you know, with the froth on the top and the little espresso hearts on you know, on the top of the froth. And then next to it was a green drink, whatever that was in that green drink, but it had a similar froth on it. And then it had an onion in the shape, you know, shaped on top of it. And it was just different. And it just made me think, yeah, this is what we need, is to be challenged, to think differently. Any final thoughts before we close? Tim?
I just want to share a quote with you that I haven't figured out, just looking it up there, and it's from the great Jim Rohn, and it says, formal education will earn you a living, but self-education will earn you a fortune.
I'm waiting for that. Definitely waiting for that fortune. I've obviously got a long way to go. A work in progress. So thanks. Yeah. Thanks, Tim. That's a great quote. Also, maybe if you could put in the chat, that will be great.
As Tim mentioned, that one, one of my favorite ones came back. I mean, that one of Jim Rohn's I love as well. But Wayne Dyer also has probably one of my most favorite ones. And he says, if you want the things you look at to change, then you need to change the way you look at things.
Mm.
Yeah. Well, thanks.
As we're going for quotes, I'll throw.
Sorry, Edward.
If we're looking for quotes, I'll throw in, if you think training's expensive, try ignorance.
That's a good one too. Yeah. Oh yeah, my mistakes have definitely been very expensive. My ignorance. Yeah, and then the only thing worse than that is not learning from that learning, right? And repeating the mistake. That's truly expensive. Yeah, so thanks everybody. If there isn't anything else that we need to add, that just wraps it up. You've got a taste of what Wisdom's Chat is about, getting us thinking, sharing ideas, contributing from our own perspectives. Next week, we will be following a similar theme, but hopefully developing it a little bit more. The theme will be, is life about giving or getting? And I've made it binary on purpose. And let's have some discussion around that. So is life about giving or getting? And but I will, as I said, I'll send out a mail so that you will get a heads up of the topics, not just a week in advance. I'll actually send a quarterly program so we know where we're heading for the next couple of months. And I'll probably send that out tomorrow. So wishing you well for the rest of the week and hope to see you next week.
Well, a very enjoyable festive season. We have Christmas coming up, so have a very nice time with your families.
Thanks, Herman. And it just reminds me that, especially for the UK people who had Christmas cancelled on them, this is Africa. You a very happy Christmas wherever you may be.